answered. Let me go across to our guests now who are joining us on the show. Professor Yukteswar Kumar, first Asian Deputy Mayor of Bath in the UK, first elected Indian Councillor of Bath in United Kingdom. Pinak Ranjan Chakravarti, former diplomat, former Secretary of the Ministry of External Affairs, is also here with us, and will shortly be joined by Dr. Veer Pushpak Gupta, member of the Indian community in the UK and part of the NHS COVID-19 doctor. Professor Kumar, coming first to you, sir. Historic moment as a person of colour is appointed as UK Prime Minister for the first time as a member of the Indian origin community, with lots of firsts to your name as well. How do you view this moment?
It is an incredible moment, a moment to celebrate, because this is for the first time that a person of Indian diaspora or Asian heritage has gone to grab the biggest power or echelon of the power. But I would like to also say that as Rishi and many others, let us not wish to pigeonhole the communities from different backgrounds into different boxes. It is Rishi Sunak, because of his merit, because of what he has been doing, coming from a very humble background. His father was just a doctor. His mother was a pharmacist. He went to Southampton. He went to one of the best schools. Yes, but he was not born in a millionaire or billionaire family. His parents came with 10 pounds like us to the UK. And then on his hard work, he went to the best school. He went to Oxford, one of the best colleges there, one of the best university there. He then goes on to study at Stanford in America, and then he works as a hedge fund manager. Then in 2015, he comes to the UK and gets elected because of the support, and people saw the merit in him. In 2012, the former Prime Minister of the country, David Cameron, had already said that UK will very soon see a person from Indian or Asian heritage to become the Prime Minister. Earlier, we had a person called Benjamin Disraeli, who was a Jewish, but this is for the first time that an Indian person has become the Prime Minister, and he understands his duties very, very well, because he has been the Minister of Local Governance or Government. So I had read his reports. I have met him on multiple occasions, and he is a person, although he is a millionaire now, but he works and he knows the pain of the society. He knows how to deal the problem in the winter of eating or heating. Yes. He has the experience of doing the works during the COVID crisis.
All right. I'll interrupt you there, Professor Kumar, because I want to take that thought forward with Pinak Chakravarti as well, sir. Much is being said about the multiculturalism at display in the UK with Rishi Sunak's appointment. Is it really that, or as Professor Kumar is also saying, that the economic mess that UK is in at the moment, they really had no choice but to have the person who could deliver?
Well, it's also about merit. Let's forget about everything else. I think the Conservative Party has gone through several prime ministers, and clearly they have now found that Rishi Sunak fits the bill in terms of the crisis that is facing the UK. Basically, it's an economic crisis, and they feel that he can deliver. And he has the support of more than 125 members, MPs in his party. So I think that's how it has happened. And it is, of course, he is, by the way, not the first minority or an Asian, call it, Indian, call it what you like, to become the head of state or prime minister of a country. There have been others before him. If you look through your records or Google it, you will find it. Although one can say they were half this and half that. I mean, Irish prime minister, then the Portuguese prime minister, then the Mauritius president prime minister, then Guyanese prime minister. I mean, there's a long list of those people. So I think, but for UK, of course, it's the first time. But it's quite a historic occasion, and it represents, of course, that the UK is increasingly becoming multicultural. But you also hear voices of, dissent, in the sense that people on the streets and others who've been interviewed have said, "Oh, he's not my prime minister," as if that a prime minister of UK must be white, otherwise he cannot be the prime minister of the whole of UK. So that kind of comments, which is basically tinged with some kind of racism, is also there. So anyway, the point is that he has become prime minister. He has a tough job ahead, and it's not going to be easy for him because the knives will be out also for him, and he had better watch his back because there will be people who will want him to fail, and because 2 years down the road there are elections, so there will be some jostling for power for the next election.
Absolutely.
In which he will be one of the I think one of the stakeholders and one of the players.
Yes, absolutely. As you rightly mentioned, it is not just about clearing up the economic mess currently, but also bringing together the Conservative Party and leading them to the next election. So certainly, as you're pointing out, there could be then competitors up ahead for him as well. Dr. Veer, Pushpa Gupta is also with us here now. Clearly, as our panelists have pointed out, UK at this stage is in no mood to celebrate a new Prime Minister. They've had, a difficult time. Will Rishi Sunak, as he's already said he's going to get on with work immediately, have no other choice? But do you feel from what he said today and spoke outside 10 Downing Street, a sense of optimism that he's bringing to the office?
I firmly believe Rishi Sunak is the man for this job. Let's look at forget about everything else. Let's look at his educational history, right? He went to Winchester College, he then went to Oxford, and then he went to Stanford for MBA. He worked in Goldman Sachs. He was the Chancellor of the United Kingdom at a time when the UK was really struggling during COVID. And I think he did a really good job with the furlough scheme. He helped people in this country that needed money at that time. And now he's being responsible enough to say that, look, we have to pay all that money back, and we're not going to leave it for the future generations. We're going to do it ourselves. This is the mistake that Liz Truss made, and that's why she is not in the PM position today. He was saying this all along. He's saying this today. And I think that he's the only man for the job. Regardless of his color, regardless of his race, which in itself is a huge achievement for the British Indian community, for the Indian community all over the world. But I think that just on the basis of his educational background, he is the man for the job to get us out of this economic crisis. There's no questions about it. And I firmly believe that he will do his job.
Professor Kumar, what are the challenges before Rishi Sunak? Apart from the economic mess that he's inheriting, what are the other challenges you perceive before him?
Thank you. Of course, he knows and we know, and that's why in the speech after just becoming the Prime Minister of the country, he says, and I quote, that there are profound economic challenges, but you can see the market. Yesterday only, FTSE went up by 50 points. Pound goes up against dollar today. The challenges are obviously for the general public of eating and heating. As I said, there are literally millions of people in this country now because electric and gas energy prices, because of two main reasons: crisis of COVID continues, and the war in Ukraine. War in Ukraine had huge impact not only on British economy, but on many almost all the European countries, because Europe is more reliable and imports gas from Russia. Now, if Putin cuts off the gas pipelines, energy prices will go, and even here in the UK, as I said again and again, the problem of heating and eating looms large. So he knows the problem. He will have to raise the tax, although Conservative Party is known for cutting the taxes, for reducing the taxes, but he will also have to cut the spending. So he knows his problems because he has been in charge of the finances. He has been in charge of the budget of the country for last at least 3 years, 2020 to now. And before that, he was the minister for local governance. So he used to give money to the local government, like us, the deputy mayor, the mayors, the councillors in different parts of the country. So he knows, and he said exactly that we are living in somber, serious times. He's not saying that he is inheriting a very, very good empire or very wealthy country or very rich budget from anybody. So he knows his problems, but he believes in winning for himself rather than defeating others.
All right.
That's
He clearly, as you're mentioning, he has his task cut out. But Dr. Gupta, is his challenge even greater as he becomes the first person of color of Asian origin to assume the office of the Prime Minister? And also because he was initially seen as one person along with the other person, Sajid Javed. Both of them were the first two ones to have put in their resignations during Boris Johnson's tenure, as one who started the process of destabilizing the government of the Conservative Party. I think a lot of people in the Conservative Party had a grudge against him on that count, and that's why he didn't make the cut in the first go against Liz Truss.
Yes, and it was that whole Judas argument. He was made to look like Judas, the one who stabbed Jesus Christ in the back. I think that's nonsense. Look, what was happening at that time was that the country was not being run properly. It was not being run effectively. The economic policies that he had laid out were not being followed in the way that he wanted them to be followed. And he honorably came out and told that to the public and said, look, this is not the way that I was foreseeing my policies to be used in this government. And clearly there was a disagreement between him and Boris Johnson and how the country should be economically run. And so he came out and said that, look, I can't do this job anymore. And I think that's, you can twist that in any way you want. But I think as an honorable person, I think that's the right thing to do. If he's not going to be able to get the job done, then he needs to come out and say it. And I think his Prime Minister's bid that he did afterwards was exactly because he wanted to do those economic policies that he was firmly believing in. And now he's going to have that opportunity to do so. So if he's not able to do it now, then, we can point fingers at him and say, look, Rishi, you didn't do the mandate that you set out to do, but at least give him a chance. And this is my humble request to everybody that whether they support him or they don't support him, he's clearly stepped up at this time when the UK needs someone. He was sitting at home. They had asked him that, look, now we need you to come and do the job. And he's up for the job. So let's give him a chance. Let's give him a try and see how he does. Clearly, he's already won the hearts of many, many, many people in the UK, including the Asian community, including the ethnic minorities. I was in Southampton yesterday night for Diwali, and there was a huge celebration there. The people were so happy that a local boy from Southampton has gone to a place where the world can now see him as a world leader. So I really hope that he does the job. I really do. Yeah.
As an outside observer, Pinak Chakravarti, do you think a lot of the problems that UK is facing at the moment, of course, is a spillover effect of the pandemic as well as the war in Ukraine? But can you link some of it to Brexit as well? Because I heard that commentary from a few people saying our problems, especially those in the EU, saying that the UK's problems are a reflection of the Brexit.
Well, if there are three reasons that I can pick, one is Brexit, the other is COVID, a second one, and the third is the war in Ukraine, which has upset a lot of the energy market, the food market, the fertilizer market. And it's not just UK, we are all suffering from it. I think everybody is suffering from it. In every country in the world is suffering from it. And the inflation is rising, prices are rising. So it's not just the UK. But yes, Brexit too has a role to play in this economic crisis, no doubt about it. After all, UK was integrated in the EU, a member of the EU market, etc. Now, some of those things have been, sundered in that sense, and particularly, let's say, the unsolved problem of how to deal with Northern Ireland and the border. So there are issues that are left over, and they have not been sorted out. I think from one survey that I came across said that said that UK is short of at least 1.5 million workers. Now, what happened? While UK was member of the EU, they had enough workers who were coming in from EU who could, but now they can't, and so there are problems there. So anyway, those things on the services side, the UK is facing problems because there are not enough people to provide services.
Okay, I'll just interrupt you there because, you know, despite this kind of crisis that is being faced, we heard the former UK Home Secretary Suella Braverman talking about not having an open border policy or being uncomfortable with that idea in the context of the India-UK trade deal. Professor Kumar, you know, sometimes we make a lot out of people of Indian origin or any country which sees, you know, their own person, a person of origin from their country, assuming high office in another country. But does that necessarily translate into better relations with the country of their origin?
Well, yes and no. It can. And because if a person from the other, I mean, obviously, Rishi was not born in India, but he, as I said, he has Indian traditional Hindu values. He understands India. He's married to a person who was born in India. So they know it, and he can, because he understands Indian culture, he understands Indian politics, he understands Indian ethics, Asian values. And I do not know about others, but today, India-UK bilateral trade is about 20 billion US dollar. India exports more to the UK, unlike in case of China. China does so much of export to India, so balance is not in our favor, in Indian favor. But here, balance between India and UK is in India's favor. India also sends thousands and thousands of students every year to the UK. UK has some soft power, which are football, English education and higher education. And UK still has several top-class universities, Oxford, Cambridge, Imperial College, even my university is among the top 10. Top 10 meaning that in the world we are still 152nd, but no any Indian university is even in top 200 or top 300. What it means is that Indian people, they are attracted. Let me tell you just very simply, per capita Nobel Prize winners, UK is even ahead of America. UK has produced more than, I mean, obviously it includes the immigrants from all over the world, but it is about 130-fold.
Okay.
America has produced 330, but their population is 5 times more. So per capita is better, and that's why opportunities are here, and Indians would come over here.
So much of this is included in the India-UK trade deal that is being worked out, being negotiated. Pinak Chakravarti, do you think that a deal that is desperately required by the UK as well can see it going through during Rishi Sunak's tenure? Because the time frame was a Diwali trade deal to be announced. That didn't happen, though a new Indian origin Prime Minister was announced on Diwali.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I think they will, as soon as he settles down, gets his ministers in place, I'm sure the talks will start again. And the talks are actually hinging on a few things, on services mainly. I think that is the point. Let me explain one thing, that trade deals, people seem to understand it is only export and import of goods. That's not true. It is also export and import of services. Because when you, as an economist, if you look at it, you will say goods and services. It goes together. So services are provided by people, by professionals, etc. Like the doctors in NHS in the UK, they are service providers. Of course, now many of them are UK citizens, but they all went from India. They have degrees from India. So I think the provision of services is related to immigration. And that is where the problem arises, because a lot of people have this feeling that immigrants come and take our jobs. But what I don't know how to explain that 1 and 1.5 million jobs are lying vacant in the UK. Obviously, some people don't want to do those jobs. So where do you get people from? You have to get people from somewhere to do the jobs. And that is how services and immigration get linked.